Hi, this is Teresa Beem, and this is Make Moms Great Again. And it's really subtitled The Fine Art of Mothering that we want to discover as a culture. Today we're going to talk about baby's first bath. For my grandbaby, I call my bathroom baby spa because I got this little heater and I put it in there to get the room nice and toasty when I bathe her. And of course, then I take the heater out of the bathroom. You know, you don't want to end up with an electric shock with a child. But it's easiest to give a baby a sponge bath, and this is the reason I heat it up really well, the room up till it's pretty toasty in there. Now, if you do give your baby a sponge bath, you can easily chill a child with a sponge bath. So I wouldn't do that in a room that wasn't really warm because it only takes seconds to chill a little newborn baby. If you don't have an electric heater, one of the things you can do is turn on your blow dryer and let it go in there for a while, and that'll help warm it up. But that'll only work if your bathroom is small. Okay, so when you've gotten the baby's bath ready, you pour the water in, and then what you do, and most people know this, and I know I'm going over this for just for people who just need a reminder, but you test the water with your elbow. Interestingly, your elbow is pretty sensitive, and you don't realize that until you stick your elbow in the water. So test the water temperature with your elbow, and keep in mind that your babies are slippery. I think that was one of the hardest parts of bathing a newborn for at least me. So my suggestion is that first couple baths, have your husband or your grandmother or somebody there just kind of help you, just to back you up, just to keep your hands free, to keep them on the baby, so the baby won't slide down into the water or bump their head. Some people I've seen, their first bath will be in a sink, and sometimes babies can bump their head against the faucet or something. So just be careful, and of course, I would recommend a little baby tub if you can afford it for your first few baths, because they're easily refillable. You can dump the water out pretty easily. My daughter wanted to recommend, there's this sponge flower she got, and it's really cute. It's like a sponge daisy that you can put down in the tub, and that it's kind of styrofoamy, and it keeps the baby from sliding. I really think those are wonderful if you can afford to purchase it. Put that on your, if you have a baby shower, put that one on your list, because that's really a good thing to have. Now, the thing that my daughter was a little freaked out about, that she has given me full permission to talk about it, is the umbilical cord. It scared her because she was so worried that she would get the umbilical cord wet, because that's what the books all tell you. Well, when I was young, I read that too, and I tried taping some plastic wrap over the umbilical cord, and it didn't work great. Sometimes you can even put things on to trap the water. I heard of somebody using a Band-Aid, and then it ended up trapping the water instead. So, that one didn't work out very well. So if you know of something that works well, please comment below and let us know, because that's a good thing. We always want to open this up for everybody else's great opinions and suggestions. So one of the reasons that I started giving my babies sponge baths for the first few times was because of the umbilical cord, before it fell off, which really only takes a few days after they get home. But if it does get wet, you can put a little alcohol on it. If it gets soaked, or if it remains wet after, maybe an hour or two after the baby is, out of the tub and is all dried up. If it's still, and if it's still wet, go ahead and put some alcohol on it. And if the umbilical gets red, or the area around it becomes inflamed or stays really wet and mushy looking, you should probably give your pediatrician a call. I haven't ever heard of anybody. No one's ever told me of an umbilical cord that got infected. But of course, that's not to say it doesn't happen. So, um, and if the umbilical cord is still attached after a couple weeks, then you can call your pediatrician, or talk to some other mothers who have had umbilical cords remain attached for a while. I don't think it's any kind of emergency by any means, but since I personally don't like to discuss things I don't have any experience with, I will advise you to go to somebody who does have some experience with that. And also, how often you bathe your baby when he or she first comes home from the hospital. Now, I've heard of mothers that bathe their babies every single day, and then others, some mothers in some cultures say, don't bathe your baby very often because it just, opens them up for, getting sick or whatever. So, I'm that's kind of personal to where you live. Do you take your baby out in public a lot? Do what is your baby getting dirty? Obviously, when your baby is dirty, you need to wash them, and you need to really clean off their diaper area every day very, very well. Each time you change the baby, make sure the baby gets nice and clean. Now, I'm not in any way pretending that I'm anything other than an experienced mom, and now I'm a grandmother. But, for medical advice, go to your pediatrician. For the fine art of mothering, which, we talk about meanings and experiences, and how to raise your children until they'll grow up admiring you. So what you need to do is take what people say, like me, and weigh it for common sense and apply it to your child if you believe it's good advice. Okay, back to bathing baby. It can be a big shock to a baby to enter a tub that's a little too warm or maybe a little too cool, and they can use the bathroom in the water. That sometimes you'll know because the baby will raise their hands if they're startled. That's one of the things you can that means you probably startle them in some way. Maybe the bath was a little too cool or too warm. So test the bath water to make sure it's the correct temperature. But sometimes just the warm bath itself relaxes the little baby, and they'll go to the bathroom in there. This is normal. Don't get too upset. All you have to do is just start over. You just kind of hand the baby to mom or dad, and make sure the baby's got a nice warm towel on them, and then dump the water out and start over again. And that's okay. That's normal. When you're bathing a baby, you start with a wet, warm cloth, and you wet the baby's head, and you always start from the top down, and the last thing you want to do is the little bottom and the feet, because those are going to be some of the dirtiest. And if you start with them first, then you kind of get your bath dirty, and you get your the head. You don't want to take the cloth that you wiped the bottom on and then do their head. So the washcloth, you want to go from the cleanest to the more likely, dirtier areas. And you don't need a whole lot of soap. Sometimes I see moms put a little bit too soap, and that can dry a baby's skin out. Some baby skin is very oily. Some baby skin is dry, and so just use your common sense and what you do afterwards. Now, the first bath doesn't have to be but a couple of minutes. If you are using a bath you've filled with warm water, and you just want them to enjoy it a little bit, by all means do. But sometimes, that first bath or the first few baths can be a little bit awkward, and you feel the baby slipping out of your hands, and some people can be a little scared of that time. So, you don't have to. They don't have to have a long bath. Just a couple minutes, and just get them cleaned off, and then take them out if that is helpful. Now, grandmother with her baby bath spa. I am one of those people that I would always throw the towel I was going to put on the baby in the dryer for a couple of minutes to get it nice and toasty and warm, and then I would call my husband. Okay, time to give the towel out. And you don't want to put the baby. I mean, sometimes it get even too hot, so you don't want to do that. But you have somebody bring in a nice warm towel, and you can wrap the baby in the towel. And now what I would do is and first of all, you can't spoil a baby this brand new. There lots of new daddies who haven't had a lot of experience with babies. You're like, don't spoil that child. It's not going to happen. I promise you, you can't spoil a newborn. And so anyway, you can do that later. We'll talk about spoiling your child later. But at this point, keep the bathroom warm and have a nice warm towel for them. And, I would have the baby's clothing in a dry spot in the bathroom so that you won't have to take the baby out into a cooler house. A lot of times your air conditioning is on. And, if it happens to be summer and it's really cold, you're keeping your house really cold, because this is what I get. My husband is a very large man. He's 6'2", and he gets hot very easily. So we keep our he would love to have our thermostat at about 64, but we keep it about 68, which is still I'm a Texas girl. I grew up in Dallas, and so I'm always wearing sweaters, even in summer, because I figure it takes a lot more to cool him off than it takes to warm me up. So I put on sweaters, and it's just really funny when I have to run outside to get something or run to the car because people are looking at me like, what on earth? It's 85 degrees out and you're wearing a sweater. But anyway, but now today it's not. It's actually really nice. We're fall has kind of blown in. I think there was a hurricane that came in. I think it was Sally, and it made its way across the East Coast in the last couple of days, and it caused a lot of rain, and it kind of cooled everything off. It's just wonderful. So anyway, you just don't want your child to have a drastic change of temperature, so put their clothes on in the bathroom where it's nice and warm. Sometimes it's a little humid in there, and just going, and sometimes the clothes might get a little bit humid, but it's still better to change them and get them all dressed in the bathroom, and then you can open up the door. Again, here's Granny talking. I just would let the cool air come in and let the babies acclimate. And of course, my kids grew up in Texas, and so it was always hot, so I didn't have to do much of that. So you acclimated from 80 to 85. So anyway. Okay, so, and bath time for the first few times may not be very much fun. The baby may not enjoy the bath, but don't worry, the babies will. They'll start to enjoy the bath. And by the time they're 6 or 7 months, they're going to find out what splashing is. And oh my goodness, you're going to enjoy that. That was just one of the funnest things. And anyway, then a little bit more I want to tell you about this, because I forgot about the shampoo thing. Okay, when I was young, I remember bath time with my little brothers and sisters, my mom giving them baths, and they would just cry and cry because they didn't have the shampoo that's tear-free. And babies would just cry and cry when you get soap in their eyes, and who can blame them? And get a good tear-free shampoo, and it just makes bath time so much easier. And then to shampoo the baby's head can be just a little bit tricky because babies don't like water in their faces. But all you need to do is, you need for the first few baths is just to run, that a soft washcloth over their head that's wet, nice and warm and wet. And you don't need to just put shampoo on it and get it nice and soapy, and then rub it over their head a couple times. You don't have to scrub, and just, and then all you have to do is then wash that out, that washcloth, so you just have water in it, and then do the same thing over in just a few times, just to make sure you get all the soap out. And but if you take that and just do this way, there's going to be some water that falls into the child's face and eyes. I mean, there's really not much you can do. I mean, most babies, you can hold them down and in the water, and then just kind of bring the water over their head to get the soap out, if that's what you prefer. Either one of those works out, whichever is easiest for you to do. And if the baby cries, just pat the baby's face with a dry washcloth. And then afterwards, after you got your baby all, after the bath time, you got them all ready. Usually I used to give my babies a bath before bedtime because it just kind of calmed them down and get ready. So, you put their little, you put whatever they're going to sleep in on them. Then what you should do is kind of just test and see if there's like water in their little ears. And you might want to take a little washcloth and try to soak some of that water out, because some babies are susceptible to ear infections. So you want to get all that water out of their ear, and it just distorts their hearing. Okay, so I think that's pretty much. I hope that I helped you guys out about bathing. Anything else that you could, questions, that you can't get anywhere else or get answered anywhere else, or that you have specific to this, just put down in the comments, and I'll try to get to it. This is not my life. I do this. I make podcasts. I don't make any money off of this. I'm doing this completely for free. I probably won't even be monetized, because I can't imagine I'm going to have that many followers. So it's just for moms who need that extra encouragement and want to talk to a granny. My name is not Granny. My granddaughter isn't calling me that. She isn't even, my name is Nonna. My daughter picked Nonna out because it's Italian. We have no Italian in our background, but my daughter studied in Italy, for voice. And so she speaks almost fluent Italian. She can also speak French. My daughter worked for President Bush when he was in office. President Bush II, President W. She worked as a presidential appointee, and she also worked for the White House as an intern. She worked when Karl Rove quit, or he moved on from working for W. Bush. She was directly under the guy that took his place, and I can't remember his name at the moment. But anyway, so that's all. I think. You have a wonderful day. God bless.